Hey everyone, happy Friday. I'm excited to be wrapping up a great week and bring you a great update today. We have a lot of text in the update today and a lot of attachments, probably more than usual. So do make sure that in addition to reading the video, as always, that you read the text of the update and then review the attachments as well. And finally, click Unfinished. If you don't click Unfinished, it's going to show that you didn't actually complete the activity. So make sure you click that blue button at the bottom to conclude. We have some exciting announcements in the way of new team members this week to welcome. So you should have seen these in the Slack channels. We're welcoming Brittany, Nicole, and Victoria. They'll all be joining us on Monday and starting in Sprout School or in specific training at the resort. And then we're also welcoming a new veterinarian. Dr. Kristen Armstrong's joining us. She's been here for weeks before doing her preceptorship as she finishes vet school. She's now graduated and is ready to start working. So she's going to start on Monday, the 21st. She's actually already active on the appointment calendar, so you can start scheduling her appointments. And what we typically do with a new doctor that I'm going to ask that you do for her also is we schedule her a little bit extra appointment time so that she can get familiar with her flow and how to manage her cases. So an appointment that would normally be 20 minutes, we give her 30 minutes for, or a 30-minute appointment we give her 40 minutes for. And then we've also added some block offs throughout her day. That doesn't mean that she's leaving. Those are just extra time for her to keep up with hospitalized cases that she may have, or for client communications that inevitably, as she's starting, may take a little bit of extra effort to coordinate. So we're really excited for these new team members to join us and for Dr. Kristen to start, and make sure that you look out for her on the calendar as well. Also, in Slack this week, I posted an announcement, kind of like a guide, to remind you how to filter your messages through the different channels. Remember that you can turn notifications on and off for a channel. So if you want to make sure that you're notified for messages from specific channels as priority over others, you can change the notifications per channel. That may be useful if you want to make sure that you belong to other channels, but don't necessarily need that immediate alerting to a new message that goes there. So you can customize those settings per individual as you choose. Make sure that you follow the posting guide there so that we don't overwhelm anybody with extra messages that maybe are too cumbersome for them to can't handle or to keep up with. One main thing that I wanted to talk about today was in the way of medication awareness, and this kind of comes out in two different areas. First, I want to talk about refilling medications. We really empower our team to refill medications as they see fit and to follow the rules. This helps us to respond to clients promptly. It helps you to make your job easier so that you can move quickly through your tasks and day without getting bogged down in any area, but it does come with some responsibilities. So we make sure that we train team members on what medications they can refill, what they can't. We have certain alerting systems in Avomark as well, but there are some things that are just in stone, commonplace, that you have to follow, that there are no workarounds or restrictions from. One is you can't refill medications for a patient that we haven't seen within a year. So just this week we caught a case where we had been refilling medications for a pet that we hadn't examined since 2016. That can't happen. So in 2018, you should see an exam done at least in 2017 to continue to refill those medications. And we never want to make a client's life hard. We don't want a pet to suffer because maybe they can't coordinate to get in for care so they can keep getting their refill. So if you have that situation come up, you could authorize with the doctor maybe one last refill or maybe a week's supply of medications just to get to a client's point of convenience where they could come in for an exam. But you can't just keep blindly clicking refill without cruising around and looking at the other areas of that patient's record to ensure they're current on their other services. I like to look at the reminder section. That's a good point of contact, just real quick. And if I see an overdue reminder, then that makes me then want to go and continue looking for their last exam. But if I see reminders are current within the last year, or those things are showing up in black, not in gray, not in red, then I would say, okay, this person is compliant and I want to focus on the medications that we're refilling. Another part to that is to make sure that we confirm the dose, and then we go with the most recent refill and we confirm that with the owner. So that might look like saying, are you still just giving one tablet? And if they say, oh no, I'm cutting those in half and I'm giving half a tablet each day, you want to make sure whatever they're saying and whatever you're seeing, that those things match. Also, the situation that we had this week was that the original instructions for medication were to give a sixth of a tablet. Well, the owner was giving one tablet and they were refilling very, very frequently, and they were out of compliance on an exam. So that's a mess, but it was something that was really happening that we have to be aware of to fix. So if we've given you the responsibility and empowered you to be able to refill those medications, our expectation is that you do the research each time that you go to refill that drug, even when you think you know, to make sure that you confirm all these little facts and that it's safe to continue refilling. It has to be safe physically for the pet, but it also has to be safe for our business, because we have the liability of making an incorrect decision or putting that pet in harm's way, or breaking a law that surrounds our pharmacy license. So there is responsibility there that we count on you for. And if you're unsure, you can always ask. You can ask a veterinarian directly, you can leave a message, you can postpone the refill for the client. Most of the time, medications that we're refilling are not an emergency, and they could wait the span of one day. So you've got your resources about you and you know what to do. Make sure that you do it consistently and every time, despite how busy you may feel or the delay that you feel it may cause. The other part is we have to make sure that we're maintaining inventory correctly. And this happens pretty well when we're refilling drugs because it's an automatic thing and Avamart does the work for us. But an area that we're really causing an area of vulnerability is with injections, and specifically in the area of emergencies or triages. When we have a pet who is crashing or coding or whatever term that you want to use. So what happens with these is that we're really great at patient care, just like in the area of refilling. We tend to be really great in client care. But in this area, what's happening is that we're giving the medications and we're not charging for them, which means that we're also not taking them out of inventory. And it's terrible. That's a terrible mistake on a couple of things. Our system is set up to where when you charge for something, it documents in the record that that medication was given, and then it also deducts it from inventory. So neither of those things are happening. So we're not getting paid, we're not documenting, and we're not taking it out of inventory, and we're experiencing the cost of that medication. Bad, 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 bad. So that's a terrible situation. So we're asking all of our team members to band together and help, and have come up with a solution that I think will work and that we definitely want to try. Right now, our protocol is that when we have pets who come in for anesthesia, that we use the CSU, that's the Colorado State University Veterinary Hospital emergency drug sheet. It's a cool online calculator. I've posted comments and instructions with a video on how to use it for everybody in the training section of this Humanity post. But this online calculator allows you to enter the pet's weight in kilograms, and then it determines the emergency dose for all the common drugs that you would need. Again, we print this out for every pet who comes for anesthesia now, in case that there's an emergency excuse me, during anesthesia. But what I'm going to ask is, when we have a pet who's presenting for an emergency, that the customer care team take the responsibility of, when the pet's on the way in, when they've directed them here, to go ahead and print a sheet. So this might look like that. You might get a phone call from a client who says, we're driving in, my pet's in terrible condition, and you direct them here. And you would normally tell the team to prepare for an emergency. Still do all of that. But also ask the client for that pet's weight. And if they say, it's a 50-pound lab, then you know that you can go ahead and jump on the CSU website. I've placed a shortcut on everyone's computer today. Go ahead and jump on that website, convert that weight to kilograms, print the sheet, and have that ready on a patient's chart when they come in. That would almost be more important than getting all the other facts about that pet. For pets who are hospitalized, nurses, I'm going to ask you to do this when we're admitting a pet into the hospital, whether they're on an emergency basis or not. If we have a sick pet who's going to be staying in our care, we want to go ahead and have you while you're adding their treatments to the whiteboard to also have an activity, a task of printing the same thing from the CSU website. That way we can keep it with the PETS chart. So if they do fall into an emergency, triage, crash code, whatever word you want to use, situation while they're with us, we can quickly pull that drug sheet out and use it as a guide. I know sometimes we're in those situations that the doctor is going to tell you exactly what you want to do. But the other cool thing about having this as a guide is that the drugs are listed there for you. So you've got the recommended dose, but if you gave something different, instead of having to write the whole drug name down, you could just write the dose that you've given. And sometimes you give injections multiple times of the same drug, and you can continue to cumulatively write down what you gave. So if you give a mill here, and then a few minutes later you give another mill, and a few minutes later another, you can write 1 and 1 and 1 and know that your total is 3. At the conclusion of care, hopefully the pet's okay, but regardless of the outcome, you're going to have to go do record keeping, in which case you would charge for the injection of the medication that you gave, but then you could enter the total volume given instead of charging by injection. So if you give 3 mils of atropine during the pet's crisis, then you would charge for 1 atropine injection, and in the inventory you'll complete with 3 mils. This is going to be cost effective for the client, and it's going to be effective for you because you just have to enter 1 charge and 1 total volume, and you've gotten the volume off of the sheet where all you had to do was write the quantity per dose that you were giving, per injection that you gave, and then calculate the total at the end. We have to do better at this because although those drugs aren't expensive, when we're giving away, they are. And so it has to be important for everybody to document this, to take them out of inventory, to charge the client for it, and ensure that we're covering our cost. That's how we have to operate every time. So that's what's important in the way of medications, and those are everybody's responsibilities. Again, outlined in the text in extra detail for you. And then I've also included a video on how to use that CSU form if you're unfamiliar or if you've never done it before. Moving on to some information for the resort team or from the resort team, they've established a finishing room. This room is multi-purpose and has been for years, but now it's single purpose. So this is the room at the resort where the washing machine and dryer are. We're now calling this the finishing room, and that's where grooming is finished, or where a pet who is here for spa treatment is finished. So this is where pets go and they get blow dried, or they get combed out and prepared for their groom, or they get their nails trimmed or wherever. It's kind of like a grooming part 2 room, if you will, but it's called the finishing room. So we want to make sure that we've created this space and that we're using this space just for that. So we have then repurposed the doggy daycare room, is now called the activities room, and this is where pets go for activities while they are boarding. So there was a treadmill in there. There are toys in there for playtimes. Some pets may go in there for whatever kind of alternative exercise works for them that they would be considering activities. So we're trying to prepare for summer and know that our volume is going to increase, and we need to utilize this room just for that. So we're not going to be hosting any other meetings in there that are during 8 to 5 hours, but after hours meetings or meetings that are pre-planned would be used for that. Otherwise, if you need to have a little personal meeting, we're not going to use those rooms for those purposes anymore, just because they have functional purposes at the resort. Okay, so the rest of what you need for today is in the text of the update. Again, I can't stress this enough. You need to read all the attachments and all the text and click I'm finished. It's critical. Thanks for listening, and I hope to hear some questions from you so I know that all this information got to where it needed to go. Thanks for doing a great job this week, and I hope you have a great end to your week.